Hey, the rulers, DMO73 here. It's time for a board meeting. We're looking at David Kuras' first take on Goliath control. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoco.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, and our guest lecturer members, Fight Ramen. Class is in session. So here is the list. As always, a reminder that you can find the exact list on Force of Wind down in the link in the description to save it to your deck lists for later. So, Goliath Control V1. This build is primarily operating under the Demolish keyword, specifically because it wants its automatons to be kind of like the mainstay of things, and it wants to have the avenues to be able to use those automatons to keep the board clear, especially with things like Hanada or other stuff like that. So we're playing Goliath Hanada. We're not playing CEO of course Skyscraper in this build, so you can kind of ignore that beginning of game trigger. It's like okay, and you're not going to have to worry about losing all the will coins. You could do the Hanada entity build here based on what your opening hand is, but overall, this is the kind of way to make sure that you have even less worry about your opponent's board being able to deal with you, particularly because of the fact that I know it's sideways, but you're going to get access to that quick cast resonator cost on your opponent's turn. It does make your robometas a little bit less good in terms of their efficiency, but you can just play them on your turn because everything's going to be coming into play tapped and not have swiftness on your opponent's side of the field. So you're in pretty good shape for being able to stay consistently protected. Now this is a little bit tweaked from what David actually played on Wednesday. I did make some couple updates just to streamline it a little bit, but let's go into it. This is primarily a blue-green build, and then it has little splash elements of black and white. So it is two color primary, tiny splash, versatility element, black and blue. Now, or black and white. Now, the main thing is that this deck, the way this deck operates and the fact that it ramps stones, is it gets to those splash colors very quickly, which is very helpful. Now, a couple copies of Goliath Automaton Control Watch. This is primarily so that if you have one in hand, you have another one to be able to grab off of Goliath's Judgment. For Robometa, he is the linchpin of the deck. This card is insanely good and well worth seeing play through. We have 4 Wojawu in a power suit. This is something that we were not playing a full play set of in David's list, and I think that is wrong. I think you do need to play 4 copies of this card. I think he is strong in the 3-cost slot, unchaseable, Mythic Belligerence Precision, just absolutely a strong card, and then whenever he destroys something, you can recover it. So a lot of your opponent's stuff is going to be coming into play tapped, which is important to note. And then even if it doesn't, he has Belligerence Precision, and he's an automaton, so he's probably going to be getting those abilities from Robometa eventually anyway. And then you get to do some really cool stuff with it, where if you destroy something during battle, you recover it, which does make some really nice elements here, especially when you get to the fact where if he has Protect and Eternal from Robometa, then you get all kinds of crazy stuff. So then this guy can like attack and kill 2 things and do all kinds of stuff, and the more these you have, the better. Obviously, you'll only be able to have one at a time, but the idea being, oh, your opponent answered it, play another one. Wujawu going to just keep hitting them over the face until they're dead. Then you have Falchion, Shooting Star of Water, an excellent ability to be able to answer different board states, as well as discard cards from your hand to be able to make stuff happen. Gifts of Protect does help to be able to give Robometa barrier in the early turns, because it does take a bit of time to get there. Although, one thing to note is that you can shortcut Robometa a little bit by holding priority and double using his first ability, because this just says put a power counter on it. So if you don't care about giving the the gaining keywords to other stuff, you can just kind of bypass it by paying 2 green and 1 chase, and then putting 2 power counters on it, and then be able to shortcut it. I don't know if that's necessarily as what you need in this build, because we have a lot of automatons, but it is certainly an option. Playing Academy Sinity's Gardening Unit. Now, you could play Guardian Dragon, but the main reason is this guy doesn't come into play tapped, so that's what we're looking for there. Playing 4 copies of Mask. This is a pretty heavy Resonator-based deck. Now, it does have activate abilities. That is something to keep in mind, but being able to have that lose all areas ability is pretty nice. nice. And you do get enough will in this deck that playing through the activate ability is not that bad. Couple copies of Loki's Insight just to continue to sculpt your opponent's hand, as well as Garyans and Persephones for some interaction in terms of cancels if needed, or just spot removal for something like Therapist can be very helpful. 3 copies of Academy City's Police Officer. This is to slow the game down. As you saw before, the idea of if you can get to Robometa with Mythic Protect, Eternal Precision Bane, Barrier, and all of those abilities, and you put it on Academy City's Police Officer, you just tell both players, we are playing 2 cards a turn maximum, and in the end of time, Hanada should win that grind, especially because you can't answer all these Robometas, you can't answer the Wuja Woos that keep coming as soon as you answer the last one, same with Robometa, and you get to do some gross things there. Going in there, we also have a couple Suyas just to be able to answer early pressure things, or things that we can't get rid of, as well as being able to rip opponent's hands apart. 2 Girls Staring At to be able to blank a board if needed. A couple Vakas for some utility, and then 2 Goliath Command Destroy Point MQ9, being able to kind of go net even with a card of cost 2. There are some pretty powerful 2-drops right now, especially Resonators with Eternal, and we'd like to be able to answer them. Things like Violet and Mariabella are making us pretty strong comeback in this format. And then Goliath Command New Instructions. Haha, this card is insanely good because this card deck plays 1-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops. Judgment is a 0-drop, so 0, 1, 2, 3. You get 4 counters on whatever you want, and you can really do some damage. Stone base wise, as you see here, we're playing 3, 3, 1, 2, 1. This is just to give you maximum ability to be able to hit your tech colors, and by the way, this is of course all stone types, so it gets to ignore Star Scale if it comes into play. And then we do play a Replicant Shiva and a Rogue Spectator. This is a ruler that if it doesn't see Broken Mask, it's nice to have Replicant Shiva available, right? It can be helpful, as you saw before, like in that match with David. If he hadn't had access to Rogue Replicant Shiva and that Odin had come down, like that would have been the end of the game pretty much. So the fact that he was able to reestablish, or at least defend himself by having that on background, is helpful for rulers, single rulers, who might not see or might not be digging too heavily for the Regalia in their opening hand. So that is the deck. Huge thanks to David for playing it for us on the channel and for letting us make some tweaks to it to show it to you here. Hope you guys like it. Let us know how you're playing Hanada in the comment sections down below. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.